getting mad because people get on my nerves. I never know. It's like, for me, I'm like, am I getting mad because I have these principles and I live my life in a certain way and I think that other people should? Or am I just mad because people get on my nerves? You know what I mean? I ask Rowdy almost daily, do I have the right to be upset about this, or am I dramatic? Right, like, I don't know. Every time I start to get mad at something. Yeah, you're like sitting there like, okay, is there like a reason for this, or am I just irritated with people? Is it a girl thing? Or we're just like, it's a 50-50, right? You're like, okay, am I irritated because people irritate me, or is this righteous? Is this righteous anger? Because I was talking to one of my friends about this, and they're like, I think a lot of, like, what you get mad about is, like, righteous anger. I think it's because you're principled, and you're like, why don't people see things the way that you see things? And why don't people, like, make decisions similar to, like, your decisions or view? I don't know. It's just interesting. But that's why I enjoy, like, these, like, talking points, because I feel like they are things people can relate to and give their viewpoints on. It's just a Kev's thing. I like to talk even about general topics that people can, like, give their insights on. And, you know, maybe, like, vent about personal experiences. I just think it's interesting to talk about those topics. That's funny, AG. It upsets me when people don't have the same principles as me. True, yeah. Like we were talking about, like, even just, like, you know, being respectful and kind to people, even that you don't know, as a thing, you know, until, like, they give you a reason to question that, which I think usually, like, okay, a stranger who is checking you out at a clothing store that you might never see again, they probably won't tick you off in that, let's say, 5-minute interaction. And so I think in that instance, unless, like, they ring something up wrong, or, like, they won't give you a coupon for no reason, like, it's not expired or anything, you usually won't have an instance to get upset at the person, right? And so, like, you can be kind and respectful to them. But, like, I think the only time where people are like, okay, well, I don't have respect for this person is, like, maybe a family member that's been toxic or a friend that's been toxic, but that's different than being respectful to people you don't know and will probably never know on a deeper level. I personally think that God gives us free will. I think that's a big part of, like, us being, you know, humans on earth, is, like, we have free will to choose God, to serve God. But then, like, the argument for, like, did God choose me as, you know, blah blah, or, like, basically God having a plan for your life. I think I read this thing, and I think I agree with this. Sorry, I'm not wording this very well. I'm kind of tired. But it was talking about how, like, God gives us free will and then he works with the decisions that we make, if that makes sense. Like, we make decisions and God works with it. Just like, I think a verse in Romans, it talks about how God, like, gave people over to their sinful desires. Like, he tried and tried and tried to give them chances, and eventually they made their decision, and he, like, surrenders them over to their sin, because he's like, you know, they've made their decision, and then they become, like, very depraved. And so I feel like in a way that verse kind of tells us in a way that, like, you know, God does allow us to make decisions, and God does allow us to pick if we do or do not want to serve him. Because I think if God could predetermine it, like, he probably, like, he loves us so much, he would want every single person on this earth to be saved, every single person on this earth to go to heaven. But a big piece of his creation is that we have thoughts in our heads, and we're made by intelligent design to reflect our creator, and part of that's intelligence and free will and thoughts. And I don't know. I think God works with the decisions that we make. I just like to ask, because most religious people say God has a plan. I don't consider myself religious. I don't consider myself religious, actually. I think I have a relationship with God. I don't really go to church regularly. I probably should. I read my Bible every day, or mostly every day. I try to expand my knowledge of God and learn. But again, I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. But I do have a relationship with God, and I talk to God like he's my friend. And I think that he does kind of lead me to have certain thoughts, right? And I do think that God has a plan, but that plan might be like, you know, you made a decision and he's like, here we go. You made a decision, here we go. I do think, like, it says, like, God knows, like, for example, when you die. Like, I think it says that in the Bible. And so, like, God knows everything. He's all-knowing. I think he knows the decisions we'll make, but that doesn't mean that we don't have the free will to make them. Like, he knows the decisions we'll make, but we still have that free will to make them just because he knows. The way I see it is, you get what you receive, so if you're rude to everyone, expect everyone to be rude back. Yeah, I think so too. Like, if you're rude to everyone, what do you expect? Like, he reads us. I think so too. I'm like you. I lean more towards free will because thinking otherwise is unsettling. I agree. I agree with you. Yeah, because it doesn't seem to fit with God's character, right? Like, I mean, God is... People forget, like, people want to paint, like, this picture. I always talk about this, but people always want to paint this picture of God being, like, this